Now, India's import of cheap Russian oil reached a new high in the month of May.
Trade is one of them. Russia is offering discounted goods to India: oil, gas, coking coal. Every deal is being sweetened by Moscow.
In other business news, Russia has restricted exports of the diesel.
Russia has billions of black gold in his pocket. OPEC is supporting to Russia.
It seems China has declared a war on the greenback. Beijing is striking deals, strengthening trade ties, and asking partners to switch to the yuan to settle their bills. You remember the Rupee-Ruble trade? It was all over the news last year. Russia and India would trade in local currency. They would remove the US dollar from rupee. I think that was the plan.
Accounts in the Indian banks, and we need to use this money, but for this, these rupees must be transferred in another currency.
It's a major milestone. For the first time in its history, UPI transactions have crossed the 10 billion mark.
Hello everyone. Just 1 year back, on July 11, 2022, the Reserve Bank of India made a very bold announcement whereby domestic traders could settle their imports and exports with Indian rupees. This was a significant development because it meant that India could directly trade with Russia without depending on American banks, not only with Russia, any other country in the world. Despite rising oil prices, we could buy discounted oil from Russia in Indian rupees. As citizens of India, we were delighted to see this as a sign of India bravely standing against the West and taking a giant leap toward making the Indian rupee a global currency. However, exactly 1 year later, something unpleasant has come to our notice. It turns out that this strategy has not fully succeeded. Indian traders are now buying Russian oil not just with dollars and dirham, but also with Chinese yuan. Yes, you heard that right. Indian Oil Corporation, India's largest buyer of Russian crude oil, became the first state refiner to pay for Russian oil purchases in yuan. At least 2 of India's 3 private refiners are also using yuan as currency for Russian imports. As much as it is important to appreciate and celebrate India's positive moves, it is equally important to evaluate their outcomes. In this episode of Geopolitical Case Study, let's do a deep dive and try to understand RBI's strategy behind this system, how it has been working out, why Russian traders are demanding Chinese yuan and dollars instead of the Indian rupee, and where we may have been failed, and how to fight with the China's currency yuan in the future to make Indian rupees strong. Let's start. We will start from the basics. Russia is the most important oil supplier to India, and India is the 3rd most consumable country in the world. After China and US, according to the International Energy Agency, Russia's oil production in 2022 averaged 10.5 million barrels per day, down from 11.1 million barrels per day in 2021. This decline was due to a number of factors, including sanctions imposed on Russia by Western countries in response to its invasion of Ukraine. In the first 8 months of 2023, Russia's oil production has averaged 9.5 million barrels per day, down from 10.0 million barrels per day in the same period of 2022. This decline is expected to continue in the coming months as the full impact of Western sanctions begins to take effect. India is Russia's top oil customer, importing 1.68 million barrels per day in August 2023, accounting for 33.1% of total crude oil imports. India is getting Russian oil at a discount due to Western sanctions. The first thing we need to understand is why RBI made this deal with Russia. There are 2 main reasons behind it. First, the West banned Russia from the SWIFT network and froze its dollar reserves, limiting Russia's ability to use dollars for trade. Second, as Russia cut oil and gas exports and raised prices, global oil and gas prices soared. This led to higher fuel costs for India, causing inflation and economic impacts. Now let's dive into the fundamental functioning of the Rupee-Ruble process. Suppose a Russian company wants to trade with an Indian merchant named Akhil Kumar without using SWIFT. There are 2 ways to do it. One way is cryptocurrency, which is very difficult to trade, and second one is Russia want to build its own shift network, which will allow only between the Russia and other partner country, like here we can say it, India. Let's understand deeply here. The Russian company will have a Russian bank account with rubles, and this Russian bank will also have an account in an Indian bank, where they store money in Indian rupees. This account is called a Vostro account. It is an official name used in the world where one nation bank opens the account in another nation bank. In this case, a Russian bank's account held in Indian bank. Now, if Akhil Kumar wants to import wheat from a Russian company, here's how the transaction works. Akhil Kumar pays 10 crore Indian rupees to the Russian bank account in the Indian bank, which means the Vostro account now holds 10 crore Indian rupees. Assuming an exchange rate of 1.5, the Russian bank will use its account in Russia to a converted sum of 7 crore rubles. This is how the Russian trader receives 7 crore rubles in their bank account. However, please note that this process involves commissions from the bank and taxes both countries, Indian and Russian. So, in reality, the trader would receive 7 crore rubles after commission charges are deducted from both sides. A similar process is used for exports. If a Russian company wants to import tea from India, they would pay 100,000 Russian rubles to the Russian bank. Since the Russian bank has Indian rupees stored in the Vostro account in the Indian bank, the Indian bank would pay 150,000 Indian rupees to the tea company. Again, commission and other charges apply, and the remaining amount is transferred. So, this system allowed us to buy Russian oil at a discount, and Russian traders started using Indian rupees for transactions. It seemed like a great system, eliminating the need for SWIFT, allowing Russia to get paid despite sanctions, and giving us discounted oil. Not only with the Russia, India can trade any country by using this system without using the SWIFT. It's looked like the game-changing right. But what's the problem with the system, and why are Russian traders now demanding Chinese yuan instead of Indian rupees? The first problem lies in the limited international usage of Indian rupees. As of 2022, Russia is said to have nearly $147 billion worth of Indian rupees. However, for Russia to use this money, they need to buy goods from India equivalent to that amount. Here's where the issue arises. While we imported goods worth $7.9 billion goods from Russia in 2021, our exports to Russia were only 2.8. This resulted in a trade deficit of $5.1 billion. But in 2022, this trade gap widened to over $25 billion, which means Russia had $25 billion worth of Indian rupees stuck in Indian bank accounts with nothing to buy in India. This is why Chinese yuan started winning over Indian rupees. Russia's trade relationship with China is far better than with India, even though they have a $38 billion deficit with China. They export around $75 billion worth of products to Russia compared to India's $3 billion worth of exports. Furthermore, India's exports have faced challenges due to payment settlement uncertainties.
It looks very simple and easy. It was fascinating to go through the experience once.
India's de-dollarization efforts are gaining momentum.
In other news, India's very own digital payments platform, UPI, has crossed a major milestone. For the first time in its history, the UPI transactions have crossed the 10 billion mark.
In 2023, first Bangladesh, then UAE, and now Indonesia will trade with India using local currencies.
One of the big highlights of this visit is the UPI, India's unified payment system. It's been introduced in France. Indian tourists can now make payments in rupees in France.
Additionally, while RBI has agreements to trade in rupees with only 20 countries, China has such agreements with 100 countries from 2016 onwards, providing Russia with more flexibility to trade with various nations. So, while Russia may have $38 billion in yuan, it can not only trade with China, but also with 100 other countries. Now, one might ask, why don't Indian companies set up operations in Russia and sell products there? The answer lies in two major disadvantages. Firstly, China is geographically much closer to Russia, allowing for quick and economical shipping via trains. China has a railway line connecting Russia, making it efficient. In contrast, India would have to rely on shipping by sea, which is slower and more expensive. Secondly, China produces goods at such low costs that it is challenging for India to compete with Chinese products in many markets. Indian manufacturing lacks the scale and cost efficiency to compete with China. To trade with Russia effectively, we first need to beat China in terms of competitiveness. However, this is a challenging task. Another option is for Russia to invest in India, for instance in Indian bonds or infrastructure. Over time, Indian bonds could provide returns to Russia, and we could use the $147 billion to develop our nation. But this option faces challenges too. Firstly, Russia needs liquidity for its defense budget, and locking in 2 times its defense budget in a 5 to 10-year bond during a war is not a feasible proposition. Secondly, the depreciation of the Indian rupee can turn the bond into a loss-making asset. With the rupee depreciating by 20% in the past 3 years, this becomes a concern. So it's clear that this isn't a viable option for Russia. This is why Russian traders are demanding yuan instead of Indian rupees. India's currency strategy has become a currency trap for Russia. Now only India is developing its digital payment servers to the world, which everyone make it. Its transactions easy. China is far behind of this. This situation highlights some critical lessons for India as we aspire to become an economic super. Firstly, we need to build a manufacturing hub that can compete with China's economics. Unless we achieve this and increase our exports significantly. Secondly, to achieve our manufacturing goals, we need foreign direct investment, which requires improving the ease of doing business in India. Lastly, as citizens of India, it's crucial to stay informed about grand announcements and follow up on them with unbiased data. We should keep a close eye on the currency agreement and see how it unfolds. That's all for today, folks. You can find all the study materials in the description.
That's all it, guys. I have explained all the main information about One Nation, One Election. If anything is wrong, I am sorry. Thank you for joining us on this incredible journey through this video. I hope you found the insights thought-provoking. If you enjoyed the content, please give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing for more captivating videos. Together, let's shape a brighter future. Stay informed, engaged, and be a catalyst for change. Your support motivates us to continue delivering informative and inspiring content. Thank you for being a part of our community, and follow us on social media. Stay curious and keep expanding your knowledge. See you in the next video. Bye.